There's something bittersweet about watching your summer garden fade away. But here's the truth. What you do in the next few weeks will make or break your spring success. I'm going to walk you through 7 essential steps to prep your garden for winter, and trust me, your future self will thank you for this. Step 7. Prep new beds. Ever notice how spring arrives and suddenly you're scrambling to get beds ready while everything else demands your attention? Here's why fall preparation beats spring panic every single time. Winter is actually the perfect teammate for creating new garden space. While you're cozy inside, nature's doing the heavy lifting. I learned this after spending 3 weekends one April fighting with grass and weeds when I could have been planting. Now I let winter do that work for me. The lasagna method sounds complicated, but it's honestly just strategic layering. Find where you want your new bed and cover that area with cardboard sheets. Use the plain brown kind without glossy printing. Overlap them generously because determined weeds will find any gap. I once left a small opening and ended up with a thistle fortress by March. Next, pile on whatever organic matter you have. Compost works beautifully, but so do leaves, straw, or even that bag of old potting soil sitting in your shed. Aim for about 4 to 6 inches. This layer feeds the soil as it breaks down, and by spring you'll have friable, rich earth ready for planting. Here's my favourite fall hack. Drive around neighbourhoods on leaf collection day. Seriously, people bag up black gold and leave it curbside. I filled my truck bed multiple times with a free mulch that would have cost me hundreds at the garden centre. Just avoid leaves from walnut trees because they contain juglone, which inhibits growth in many plants. The beauty of this method is you're working with nature's timeline. The cardboard smothers existing vegetation, earthworms move in and aerate everything, and spring rains settle it all perfectly. Come April, just pull back any remaining mulch and plant directly into your new bed. Step 6. Harvest and store. Picture this. You wake up to frost warnings and suddenly remember those beautiful peppers still hanging on the vine. I've been that person running outside in pajamas with a flashlight, and it's not my proudest gardening moment. Timing your harvest separates the prepared gardener from the scrambling one. Tender vegetables like tomatoes, peppers, zucchini and beans won't survive even a light frost. Once temperatures drop to 32 degrees Fahrenheit, they're done. But here's what surprised me. You don't need to wait for tomatoes to ripen on the vine. Green tomatoes will ripen perfectly indoors in a warm, dark spot. I line mine up on newspaper in the basement, and we're eating fresh tomatoes well into November. Root vegetables tell a different story. Carrots, beets, turnips and parsnips actually improve after frost. The cold converts their starches to sugars, making them sweeter. They can stay in the ground until it freezes solid, but once you see consistent freezing nights in the forecast, dig them up. I made the mistake once of waiting too long. Chipping frozen carrots out of concrete hard soil is not fun. Potatoes need special attention. Dig them before the ground freezes, but don't wash them. Brush off excess dirt and let them cure in a dark, dry spot for about 2 weeks. Their skins need to toughen up for proper storage. I cure mine in single layers in the garage, turning them occasionally. Washing them invites rot. For herbs, basil and rosemary won't survive outside in most zones. Dig up small plants, pot them, and bring them to a sunny window. My rosemary has survived 3 winters this way, getting bigger each year. Meanwhile, parsley and thyme are surprisingly hardy. They'll often survive under a simple row cover and give you fresh herbs even in January. Step 5. Protect growing plants. Want to eat fresh salad greens in December? It's not as crazy as it sounds, and you don't need an expensive greenhouse to make it happen. Cold, hardy vegetables are tougher than most people realize. Kale, collards, Brussels sprouts and spinach don't just tolerate frost, they actually taste better after it. That same starch to sugar conversion that sweetens carrots works its magic on brassicas too. I've harvested kale in single-digit temperatures, and it was the sweetest crop of the year. But even hardy plants benefit from wind protection and a few extra degrees of warmth. That's where simple structures make all the difference. You don't need to buy anything fancy. I built effective hoop houses using blue water pipe from the hardware store. It cost maybe $20 for enough to cover a 4x8 bed. Here's how simple it is. Push rebar stakes or bamboo poles into the ground at each corner of your bed. Bend the water pipe over them to create arches. Drape clear plastic sheeting over the hoops and secure the edges with boards, bricks or whatever's heavy. The whole project takes about 30 minutes. Even easier? Raid your recycling bin. 2-litre bottles with the bottoms cut off make perfect mini cloches for individual plants. Just remove the cap for ventilation and push a stake through to anchor them. I've protected dozens of lettuce plants this way without spending a penny. The key is ventilation on sunny days. Even in winter, a closed hoop house can hit 80 degrees Fahrenheit on a bright afternoon, making plants leggy and weak. I prop mine open whenever it's above freezing during the day, then close it up at night. This routine has kept my salad bed productive from September straight through to March. Step 4. Feed your soil. Your soil just spent months feeding your plants, and now it needs some love in return. But here's the thing most gardeners miss. Full feeding works better than spring feeding, and I'll tell you why. When you add compost in autumn, you're giving those nutrients months to integrate into your soil structure. Winter rain and snow gradually work that organic matter deeper, and all those beneficial microorganisms keep processing it even in cold temperatures. By spring, you've got perfectly conditioned soil ready to support new growth. Add it in spring? You're playing catch-up while trying to plant. I spread about 2 to 3 inches of compost over all my beds once I've cleared out the summer plants. Then I add a layer of mulch on top. This is crucial because bare soil is vulnerable soil. Winter winds erode it, heavy rains compact it, and temperature swings damage the delicate ecosystem you've been building all season. Leaf mold has become my secret weapon. It's just leaves that have decomposed for a year or two, and it's incredible for soil structure. I rake leaves into a designated corner of my yard each fall, wet them down, and forget about them. 2 years later, I've got this crumbly, sweet-smelling amendment that my plants absolutely love, and it costs nothing. Cover crops offer another route. Plant winter rye or clover in October, and they'll protect your soil through winter while adding organic matter. Come spring, you chop them down and work them into the soil. I tried this in one bed last year, and the difference in soil texture was remarkable. Think of winter as your soil's recovery season. Feed it well now, protect it with mulch coverage, and it'll reward you with vigorous growth when temperatures warm up again. Quick question. Which of these winter prep steps are you most excited to try in your garden? Step 3. Mulch your perennials. Perennials are an investment, and a little attention now means they'll come back stronger next spring. But I learned the hard way that not all perennials want the same treatment. Mulching technique matters more than I realized my first few winters. The goal is insulating the roots, not smothering the plant. I pile 4 to 6 inches of wood chips, straw or shredded leaves around my perennials, but I keep it away from the stems themselves. Think of it like tucking a blanket around someone, not over their face. That first year I piled mulch right up against my hostas and ended up with rot problems. Deciding what to cut back confused me initially. Here's what I've learned. Plants with seed heads like coneflowers and black-eyed Susans, leave them standing. Birds feast on those seeds all winter, and the structure looks beautiful with frost on it. But plants prone to disease like bee balm, phlox, and hostas need to be cut back once the ground freezes. This prevents fungal issues from overwintering and spreading next season. Berry patches need specific care. I cover my strawberry bed with straw once the ground freezes solid. This prevents them from heaving out of the ground during freeze-thaw cycles. Raspberries get pruned differently depending on type. Summer-bearing varieties need the old canes removed, leaving 6 vigorous new canes per foot. Fall-bearing raspberries. Cut them to the ground after fruiting. Young trees deserve protective wrapping around their trunks. I lost a fruit tree one winter to voles gnawing the bark at ground level. Now, I wrap every young tree with hardware cloth, or tree wrap, from ground level up about 2 feet. It takes 10 minutes per tree and saves years of growth. Step 2. Clear dead plants. Walking through my garden in late October feels like surveying a battlefield. But this cleanup step might be the most important thing you do all season. Here's why it matters beyond just aesthetics. Disease prevention starts with removal. Those sad-looking tomato plants with blight, that zucchini covered in powdery mildew. Every day they sit there, they're spreading spores that'll wait in your soil to attack next year's crops. I pull anything diseased and throw it straight in the trash, not the compost pile. Composting doesn't always get hot enough to kill pathogens, and I refuse to spread problems around my garden. Healthy plant material tells a different story. For plants that stayed disease-free, I use the chop and drop method. Cut them at soil level, break up larger pieces and lay everything right on the bed surface. Over winter, this material breaks down and feeds the soil. It's lazy composting that actually works. Last fall, while clearing beds, I found 3 trowels, a pair of pruners, and 1 garden fork I'd been missing since July. We've all done it. You're tired, sweaty, ready for lunch, and you tell yourself you'll grab tools later. Then later never comes. Now I do a thorough tool hunt during fall cleanup. Check between plant rows, under sprawling squash leaves, anywhere you work during the season. Pull up any remaining roots if you can. Those leftover cucumber vines might look harmless, but they can harbour cucumber beetles over winter. Tomato roots can hold on to diseases. The cleaner you leave your beds, the fewer problems carry over to spring. It's tedious work, but I've seen dramatic differences in pest and disease pressure the following year when I'm thorough about this step. Step 1. Winterize garden infrastructure. Nothing teaches you about winterizing like a burst pipe or shattered pottery, and I've unfortunately learned both lessons. Let me save you the expensive education I got. Water system protection tops the list because the damage happens fast and costs serious money. Once nighttime temperatures consistently dip near freezing, it's time to act. Disconnect every hose from every spigot. Drain them completely and store them in a shed or garage. Standing water in hoses freezes, expands, and can crack the connector fittings. But here's what many people miss. You need to shut off the water supply to outdoor spigots from inside your house. Most modern homes have individual shut-off valves for each exterior faucet. Close those valves, then go outside and open the spigots to let any remaining water drain out. I skipped this step one November and woke up to a geyser shooting from my back wall in January. The repair bill was not pleasant. Clay and ceramic pots are next on the hit list. Water trapped in soil freezes, expands, and cracks your beautiful planters. I empty mine completely or move them into the garage. Those cheap plastic pots, they're more forgiving, but I still empty them to be safe. Tool maintenance sounds boring until you grab rusty pruners in spring when you're eager to get planting. I clean every tool with a stiff brush, sharpen blades, and coat metal parts with a thin layer of oil. My good tools live in the basement over winter. The cheap stuff can stay in the shed, but anything I care about comes inside where it stays dry. Check your raised beds if they have built-in watering systems. Disconnect any reservoirs or tubes so water doesn't sit stagnant and freeze. It takes 15 minutes now versus hours of repairs later. These 7 steps might seem like a lot, but tackle them one weekend at a time and you'll be done before the first real cold snap hits. Your spring self will be so grateful when you're planting instead of scrambling to catch up. If you love this video, you'll love the next one even more. Drop a comment below and tell me what's been your biggest struggle with growing plants in your garden.